Let me throw my theory out, and it's just a theory. I don't really believe it, but I like thinking about it. What if UFOs looked like those pyramids, and fucking UFOs landed for a little while and gave them all their advanced technology and gave them all the crazy shit, and then flew off? And so
You're just going deep into the what if drawer.
So, yeah, this is deep in the what if drawer. This is way underneath a lot of other what ifs. But like, so if you think about it, those fucking pyramids kind of look like they could be spaceships. Like whenever I think of spaceships, I think, why wouldn't it look like a pyramid? It could be a pyramid. So maybe fucking they were visited by advanced intelligence that looked like those pyramids.
It's still the problem with the pyramids is not that. The problem with the pyramids is the incredible mathematical equations that are required to create something so perfect. There's 2,300,000 stones in the pyramid, the Great Giza pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza. That's think about how many fucking stones that is.
It's a lot of stones.
They weighed between 2 and 80 tons, and some of them, the ones from the King's Chamber, were cut from a quarry that was like 500 miles away. I mean, it's amazing, man, and they're perfectly put in place. You ever seen the King's Chamber? You know, where in the Great Pyramid? It's insane. They don't have any idea how they built it. They have no idea how they got these incredibly large stones cut so perfectly and so smooth. And they found bore marks in the sarcophagus that is from a diamond bit drill.
Right.
So it's like shit that we have today. Somehow or another.
What's that called? I'm sorry to cut you off. Just because it's another fascinating aspect of the stuff you're talking about, which is shit. There's a name for this kind of archeology where people will find it's like you'll find batteries. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or you'll find
I'm thinking of cryptozoology, but I know what you're talking about.
You'll find like something that there's no way that it should exist back then. It almost indicates time travel. Or
have you ever? Well, not time travel, but have you ever looked into Graham Hancock? Have you ever read any of his stuff?
No, I know that.
I want to give you Fingerprints of the Gods before you leave. It's one of my favorite books, and this guy Graham Hancock is an archaeologist, and he traveled all over the world looking at all these ancient civilizations and ancient structures and studied all the different, different cataclysmic event stories that every single religion seems to have that are in the Epic of Gilgamesh and in the Bible. And what he believes is that somewhere around 10,000 years ago, there was some event on Earth. And there was a super advanced civilization that existed before that. Yeah. And we have been around a lot longer than we think. And that what the pyramids are literally is people rediscovering some shit that a super, super advanced civilization that had been reset many thousands of years ago. What we see, like when you see like the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx and all these things that they can't explain, the Sphinx enclosure, what we see is the proof that there was some sort of a super advanced civilization many, many, many thousands of years before where the archaeologists currently date to be, the time they built the pyramids. And there's a guy named John Anthony West that has dedicated his entire life to trying to let people look at Egypt in a different way, and he believes that the Egyptian, the drawings, the depictions of pharaohs, they go back over 34,000 years. But for whatever reason, conventional Egyptologists are unwilling to look at that kind of evidence. They don't want to look at anything that makes it seem like everything is all fucked up and there was some sort of an event that hasn't been documented, and the people that we think of as Egyptians maybe never even built this in the first place. They might have been like the people that moved into all this shit, and it's
like this conversation we're having about the pyramid.
Yeah,
the Egyptians were having it too.
I'm sure.
Like, what the fuck is that?
Right. Where did this shit come from?
That?
Exactly.
People have been saying that for a long time.
Exactly. We found it like secondhand. They found it first, and this guy Graham Hancock has traveled all over the world, taking all this footage of these incredible structures that people have made that map out the cosmos, that match constellations, and all these different Pleiades. Societies. Yeah, like Machu Picchu. That fucking thing. Like how the fuck they don't even know how anybody got anything up there. Yeah. They're like, these guys got these giant fucking stones up there where there's no air, and they built these incredible structures many, many, many thousands of years ago. Like they have no idea when, and they think that it might have even been at a time where water was up there. Like it's fucking nutty, man. When you really find out how much of these ancient structures and ancient civilizations, how much evidence there is for it. But when they start bringing this stuff up to conventional archaeologists, they always say, well, where's the evidence for these cultures? Like that's what they said about John Anthony West when they brought up the water erosion marks on the Sphinx. You familiar with all that? The water erosion on the Sphinx is due to thousands of years of rainfall. The problem with that is the last time there was rainfall in the Nile Valley, it was like 7,000 BC.
Yeah.
So that puts it like way outdates it. Way past what we think of as Egyptian civilization. Egyptian civilization we think of around like 2,000, 3,000 BC. They're talking like 7,000, 4,000 years earlier than that. You know what I mean? I mean, this is pretty incredible shit. So these guys have discovered all these different things that point to the fact that it's much more likely that there was a far older civilization that disappeared. And so the archaeologists are all like, well, where's the evidence for this civilization? What? It's fucking right there. What else is going to be left? What else is going to be left after 10,000 years, man? You're going to get some stone. That's it. A car would dissolve into the earth. A building would fall apart and crumble. Everything has to be made out of stone. That's the only shit that's going to survive.
Have you seen...
And you know, I want to interrupt you, but you know when they first found the Sphinx in I forget which fucking pharaoh they attribute it to the guy who supposedly they think built the Sphinx. But it's in the hieroglyphs. It literally says that he was told in a dream that if he uncovered the Sphinx, he would go on to rule Egypt. He had to uncover it. You know why? Because it was covered in fucking sand.
Right.
They had to actively dig it out of the sand.
Yeah.
It was up to its head in sand.
Right.
Not only that, the head has been altered. Like they know that the head used to be far larger and was much more likely the head of a lion. And then some pharaoh was like, I don't like that lion. I want my face up there, bitch. And so that's when they put his face up there. And more likely, it was one of the African pharaohs because he has a face of a Nubian. The Nubians conquered Egypt in the end of the Egyptian Empire when everything fell to shit.
Yeah,
the Nubians conquered, and their pharaohs were much more African looking.
Yeah,
the point is, where we're both saying is.
We're older than we
way
think.
older.
Way
This Graham
older.
Hancock guy's a fucking genius, man, and his books are brilliant on this shit. And his wife's a photographer, so he has these incredible photographs of all these different things from all over the world, and it will absolutely convince you that at least this should be considered as an option, and it's not right now. Right now, everybody wants to think that everything they've been taught in school and everything they're teaching their students right now is the information, and it's very difficult to get them to relook at shit. These motherfuckers that won't look at the Sphinx, I mean, there's water erosion. Every single geologist who looks at that says, this is water erosion from thousands of years of rainfall. And then they have all these other guys that are like, no, it can't be. It's impossible.
That's never been a problem for me imagining that we're a super
right,
old
but for
species.
them, they've been teaching this shit. They've been teaching Tutmosis III did this at this time, and he built this pyramid, and, you know, they don't know, though. That they really don't know. It's guesswork. There's a shitload of guesswork.
Yeah, that's always really amazing to me when archaeologists get very specific about something that was a really long time ago.
And then he said to his troops, you know, whoa. How the fuck do you know what he said?
I can barely remember what I ate yesterday for lunch.
Exactly.
Like, how are you diagnosing this shit? It's impossible.
I talk about this when I talk about on stage, when I talk about how little we know about human beings. If I'm in a club that has like 200 people in it, I'll say, you know, there's 200 of us right here. What we represent, if we lived our entire lives, birth to death, and we added them all together, we represent 20,000 years. Just us.
Right.
Just the lives of 200 people. If you add them all together, birth to death, that's 20,000 years.
Yeah.
That's way more than we know about human history. Way more.
Yeah.
According to like conventional teaching or conventional thought, like 20,000 years ago, we were basically cavemen, right? I mean, we wore animal skins and shit. Like when they find those frozen dudes, how old are those dudes?
I have no idea.
It's like 30,000 years ago. They're like wearing skins and shit and throwing spears with rock tips. Like that's as good as it got back then. Right. 20,000 years, just 200 people's lives. That's incredible, man.